creativity is anarchic. You know, and let's not be nice. You know, let's not always sort of wrap it up and think, "Oh, this stuff is nice." You know, it certainly isn't nice. You know, it's jaw-breaking stuff quite often. It's really challenging. It's quite nasty, and quite a problem for lots of people. So you just need to sort of chuck into the mix that when we're dealing with creative industries and creativity and creative people, you get the rough as well as the smooth.
If you want to work in Hollywood, you know, we're going to be trying to be bringing Hollywood here, right? We're building film studios. It's the Hollywood movies are already filming here. You can work in Hollywood in Massachusetts right now. If you want to work at the world's best graphic design firms and design and architecture firms, well, we have some of those here in Massachusetts. If you want to work in some of the world's most famous advertising firms, we have those here in Massachusetts. So now, we don't have as many of them, you know, as other places, but certainly, I mean, the caliber of the work that's coming out of the companies here, I'm always shocked when I go into it. Like, I just went to go visit a company called Viewpoint Creative that's out in Needham, like in this industrial park, and I was like, yeah, really? They're an amazing company. They've been there for 20 years, and they do, anytime you see any kind of preview for ESPN or Showtime or HBO or ABC, any of those little, you know, blips that introduce TV shows, almost all of that stuff is done out of Viewpoint Creative. I mean, go to their website and look at the caliber of the work they're doing. It's off the charts. And so a lot of that is here, and it's just a matter of part of what I think will solve the problem is letting students it's the branding issue. People don't realize what's here. People don't know that, the majority of students I talk to don't know that Rock Band was made 10 minutes from here, you know. So we think we need to do a better job of letting students know that this is a place where those companies actually exist. That doesn't solve everything, right? Another thing we want to do is make sure that students who are interested in starting up their own companies understand the quality of the entrepreneurial resources that we have here. There's small business offices, there are entrepreneurial offices from majority universities have a lot of resources for people to start up their own companies. The industry associations locally have a lot of those things. I mean, I think we sometimes suffer because New York is seen as the vortex of cool, and it's 3 hours away. But there really are a lot of those companies already here.
First freelance job was at Viewpoint Creative in Needham 20 plus years ago, and I get the basics, and that happens a lot. People will get out of university here, get the basic knowledge and education, and then be lured away by Hollywood or by some other perceived either cool location, or it's really just mass, it's volume, like Jason said. It's not necessarily quality, it's just there might be 100 companies within a 10-block radius someplace like London or LA or Vancouver or Tokyo. But then what happens is, happened to me, we end up coming back because we realize, oh, wait a minute, the quality of life and the quality of the product is actually here to begin with, so we end up coming back after the fact. So.
So universities generally are content providers. They're providing people who generate the creative content for the businesses. That's what they're actually doing. So it's kind of entry to work. What actually universities are not very good at is then moving beyond entry to work. And it's interesting that I think, for example, if you're talking about scientists now, you'd find many universities with science parks. Why haven't we got an arts park? This is the question. And actually, in many senses, we have cultural quarters. We have creative industries quarters. And I think that one of the connections that actually should be developed quite seriously is the way in which universities move beyond the initial degree into the world of work and work with the other agencies. And this is where I do think there could be genuine interaction to build and strengthen cultural quarters and creative industries quarters. And that way, I think you've got then a thriving, living environment in which businesses will grow and will change and will develop. And I think that it's about time that universities recognize their creative content, their creative side, if you like, and stopped all this continual sort of money pumped into science and technology, to be honest.
What might be an interesting concept, Jason, is to establish Northeastern as a cultural district, and make that, you know, your boundary, so that you would have intellectual property and content, and there would be the tax breaks, and there would be the kind of incentives that you're talking about, that you often see for R&D in other ways. But if we simply made Huntington Avenue, instead of Avenue of the Arts, a cultural district in a different way, an intellectual property cultural district, it might be an interesting way. And the second flip side, I just want to address this. Northeastern Co-op will never succeed if it stays in the model of the 1950s, which is a full-time employer, 35 hours a week for 6 months, because that's not the way films are made, that's not the way projects are made. We are imposing a structure that doesn't meet the creative process, and I think that's one of the things that we need to be far more entrepreneurial in what we mean by co-op here, just to my end.
There was no film business in Vancouver 10 years ago. You know, they made a concerted effort. They passed a bunch of tax breaks. They built the infrastructure, and then at its peak, there were 45,000 people working in the film business in Vancouver. It's because they went after it, you know. And right now, we're going after it, you know. And right now, we're very aggressively going after the video game industry. We're very aggressively going. I mean, so it's about, you actually have to have the companies for people to work at. We feel like we have a good base for people who are interested in working in those companies. And I mean, I've been working in creative economy stuff for 10 years now, and I have been shocked when I go inside some of these office parks in Waltham. I mean, I think our cluster is really actually out in Waltham and Needham and that whole region. That's really where a lot of these tech companies are. You go out and you go behind some of these doors, and you're just blown out of the water, the work that is occurring here. And we don't talk about it, and nobody knows it's there. You know, it's like, we are I think it's sort of the Brahmin New England thing. We're like, we all say how we're sort of guilty of not talking about our own success, you know? And this is not, this governor, this governor is not that way. You know, we are not going to be that way anymore about this. I mean, you can't just go out and say, we're the place for creative industries when no one even knows what the definition is, right? You know, you have to, I mean, you know, it's typical Salesforce kind of stuff. You go to all the conferences, you have a booth, you talk to all the companies there about what Massachusetts is doing, you network. Then, you know, you hire marketing firms and do branding around specific parts of your sectors. And all that stuff's in the works right now, and we haven't decided where it's all going to land. But it's, you know, I don't think it makes to go sense out and say, Massachusetts is the home of the creative industries, because people are just going to go, I don't get it.
No, on your bumpers. You've got to have a slogan about the creative industries in Massachusetts on the bumper, car bumpers. Yeah. So I can take one home.
Yeah. Virginia is our video gamers.